Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing podcast. I'm Kaye, a shamanic leadership coach and healer, guiding you through life with a foot in both worlds. When you understand the terrain of the inner landscapes, the mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic, you will become the leader within your physical life, both personally and professionally. After all, the power of change is in your hands. Let's get this journey started. Welcome back, everyone, to Inner Voice of Knowing. I've sat with this one for a little while, but it keeps coming. So I'm going to share a journey that started for me about when I was 25 and I'm now 59. And the reason I'm going to share it is because I'm walking the Camino. In fact, as this comes out, I will be on the plane the very next day with my friend flying to Paris. So, of course, I'm telling lots of people and I'm sharing it on social media. People ask, I went the other day to buy a chain to put a pendant on it for wearing for the Camino. And I told the woman, and so many people have this on their bucket list. And there are so many great insights in the unfolding of this story. And some people are called to walk the whole Camino. My friend and I are walking the whole Camino. Some people walk parts of it. Some people are called onto a pilgrimage in different places. But the energy behind it is the same. So I was traveling around Australia with my eldest daughter, who was 1 at the time, and my husband at that time. We were camping around Australia. And we went over to Tasmania and all up the east coast and came back round the top and had friends that were living in Kununurra. So we set up our tent in the backyard. I had a couple of books with me that I'd bought in Cairns. And one of them was a Paulo Coelho book. And I was in the tent and I had the flaps open and the beautiful sky that I could see. So I felt really open to the environment. And I'm reading. And I had a moment where I felt something deep within me and I put the book down, which was actually talking about a pilgrimage, this particular Camino pilgrimage. And I looked up at the sky and I remember saying, with so much feeling and so much passion, that I reflect back and go, it was an invocation. Remember, invocation is an invitation that is answered. And as I looked at that sky and I put that book down, I just felt from the depths of my soul, as I said the words, I want to do something deeply spiritual and profound, such as walking the Camino. One day, I need in my lifetime to do something with this depth of spiritual calling infused in it. And then life goes on, and second baby and a third baby, and my business started booming and coaching and healing and speaking and writing. And it just sort of got buried under the layers of life happening, let's say that, until a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, sitting with a friend having lunch, and she started to share that, and she's my age, so when she was 50, so 9 years ago, she had walked the Camino with her husband. And she shared magical, miraculous moments that had happened. So, for example, someone that was walking with her decided to catch a taxi. It was a brand new taxi that took her to the next village. My friend and her husband get to that village and people asked, where's your friend? And, oh, well, she caught a taxi and apparently it was a new taxi. And it's like, well, we don't have taxis through there. wanting a cup of tea and a biscuit, and suddenly there's a clearing and there's someone from Melbourne set up offering donation only, beautiful lounge chairs and things, all rustic, tea and biscuits. And many, many other stories that were shared. And oh my gosh, I felt that remembrance of that 25-year-old girl inside of me. And my friend said, I'm going again next year, which was last year. Why don't you come with us? Now, they were going with a larger group, but here's the thing. There was an instant, I felt the resonance of the energy of what I had invoked all those many years ago. And then there was this hell no, which were all the excuses. Well, I've had 3 car accidents. I wasn't saying this out loud. I was saying it inside of myself. All the excuses that always comes up as we're getting ready to do some big leaps and called to get well and truly outside of our comfort zone. And I observed myself while she was talking to me, listening to that inner dialogue of the 3 whiplash injuries that I'd had, the back, etc., etc. It just kept unfolding, and I really witnessed it. And then I had moments of sitting in the backyard, and my friend who I'm actually going to walk the Camino with, it's like, yeah, yes, 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 let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And then all that hell no, hell no, hell no. It was that real toing and froing. So remember, you can relate this to any big calling of getting out of your comfort zone. There's that, oh my gosh, yes, 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 and then the hell no, hell no, hell no, and all those stories and all those internal reasons why not to. And then there was that moment of saying to my friend, because I had been sitting outside in my beautiful courtyard where I've got massive trees and beautiful garden in my courtyard, all in pots. And I was looking up at the full moon and I was drumming and I was journeying and I was feeling the light of Grandmother Moon coming in to shine her light into the places and spaces I'd not yet been willing or able to see. And then I wept from the depths of my soul. And I wept because I knew, excuses aside, I remembered the invocation and I knew the Camino was calling me. And I knew I had to go. So I rang my friend, and then she rang me back and said, look, she'd just done my program and fast forwarded her creation of her new business premises, that she was expecting it to be a year or 2 down the track, and it happened during my 12-week program, the launching pad. And she's like, I can't do it that year, but if you want to go, you go. She said, but I'll go the year after, which is actually 2024, which is now. She said to me, I'll be turning 50 upon my return a few months after. And then I felt the cellular resonance and I thought, yes, because in March, we get back at the end of October, and in March, I'll be turning 60. What an amazing way to go. And it felt right to do it with my soul sister. We're so compatible. We understand each other. We've seen the light and the dark and all the shades and variations, and we just honour each other. We're both early risers. We have a similar pace. We don't need the other to fill up space with conversation. If someone's triggered, we know exactly what's going on and we hold space. And I just thought, yes. So we decided that it would be 2024. And without realizing that once you decide to walk the Camino is invoked. This magical, mystical energy, ancient energy is actually invoked. And it starts to shift you at the deepest level. But the shaman that I am, and the medicine woman that my friend is, we did a powerful invocation. And that invocation and that intention was clear everything within us that needs to be cleared. Because we don't want to walk the Camino clearing. We want to walk the Camino and be present with the surroundings, the energy, the ley lines, the people, the whole experience, not processing emotional things. Wow. So there's a double invocation. So be mindful, people. And here's the power of it. There has been so much testing and what you could call adversity. And if you want to learn about adversity, go back and listen to a couple of episodes ago. I think episode 27 is my discussion on adversity. Very insightful. My friend went through some relational stuff with someone very close to her that was so deeply confronting, triggering, painful, to be cleared, all designed to release. I myself have gone through something similar with someone very dearly close to me that became very painful, grief, but all designed for me to sit in knowing and apply everything that I teach. In fact, there were quite a few close relationship things that were triggering, that I needed to turn my vision inwards. I need to look into shadows of myself. How did I want to be moving forwards? How did I need my life to be moving forwards? Who did I need to grow into to fill my soul goal, callings, and aspirations? All the things, again, that you learn about when I talk about consciously crafting and creating. Everything has been designed for my soul growth, for my energetic expansion, and for my release and remembering and reintegrating at a deeper level the truth of who I am at a soul, spiritual, deep knowing, embraced self level. I was then tested because my friend had taken such a massive leap in the creation of her premises. She's 10 years younger than me. She's got young teenage and just under the teenage years, 3 beautiful children. So there was all this testing. Things were not happening the way that she wanted. She was learning to let go. We were both dismantling old, outdated, subconscious false stories and beliefs so that we could both get out of our own way. What that led to me was that I may have to go on my own. And I remember my husband feeling a bit worried about that, 800 kilometres walking on your own. And it's like, you know what? I had some fear, but moving and piercing beyond that, I knew that I had to be prepared. I'd already tattooed the Knights Templar sword and the shell and the way on my arm. I do things like this, not always a tattoo, as my stake in the ground, as my commitment that I am going. I didn't put the year, just in case with unwell or whatever might happen, but I knew that I was going. There's no way I can show this tattoo and say to people, oh, no, I decided not to go. So I was prepared to go on my own. But my knowing, everything kept telling me, be prepared to, but you won't. Everything kept telling my beautiful companion, my friend, be prepared to not go, but you will. This whole experience has been an unraveling of deep-seated false stories, beliefs, ways of thinking, ways of being, ways of feeling, releasing karmic patterns, family lineage, both happening differently for the two of us, but the similar learning pattern behind it all. Then, stake in the ground, it was fully decided we were doing this together. And I end up with an incredibly painful knee. I live in a 2-story place and I've got stairs to get into the front of my place, up to get upstairs and to get up to the garage. Stairs everywhere. It was so painful. At one point, I was swearing with every step, going up and coming down. Now, I've always been so active. I need it for my energy. It's part of the very fabric of who I am. I found myself unable to go to the gym at one point. I have 2 personal training sessions. I was power walking around the lake. I was doing training, walking 18.5 kilometres around the lake with my friend, and suddenly I could not do that. And after exploring what it was, I had a very badly torn meniscus. Okay, go to the specialist. I tell the specialist how I need this sorted. Back then it was going to be July to walk the Camino. Thank goodness it's not. That's such a hot time of year. And he looked at me and suggested that I don't go. I've had other people suggest that too, but for some reason it was most powerful from him because he was an authority. He was the knee expert. And I looked him in the eyes and I smiled and I said, I am going. I am doing this. He talked to me about how bad the tear was. First course of action, he said it again. And a third time, as he said, let me check it, get up on the bed, on the table, and let me have a look at it. And then he said again, he questioned me about going. And I looked at him and it was like my spirit just spoke with me and said, I am doing this. It is a spiritual calling. And he just stopped and never questioned me again. First course of action is to have a cortisone injection put into the knee. Then I was called to go to Bali with a friend. We've combined forces, 3 of us, created a joint business called Inner Collab, the Art of Feminine Collaboration, and we were going to Bali to have a look where we could do retreat. Powerful experience. But again, oh my God, massive steps everywhere, and to get to all the waterfalls, massive steps, and they're not even. They're not ergonomically designed like it is here in Australia. And I think the injection had worked for a little bit, but then, oh my gosh, the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain. So when I got back, I rang the specialist to say, I need the operation. There was one date available and they would not let me have it until I went and saw him. So I booked in. I had to wait a week. I went in and saw him, said what was happening with it. And thank goodness that one time slot that was only a few weeks away at the end of April, just in time for me, was available. And when I was in the hospital, the anaesthetist, all these people noticed my tattoo and was so excited for me about doing the Camino. See, the minute I had faced this person of authority and said, it is a calling, a spiritual calling, no one ever questioned me again. I only ever then had enthusiasm, even from the specialist, my surgeon. He suddenly seemed enthusiastic about what I was going to do. Looked like there wasn't going to be much time because it, takes 6 weeks or so for full healing. I was back at the gym though, and I was working upper body. Then left with just quite bad arthritis in the left knee where the meniscus was done. But that's okay. That's a pain that when that comes up, I can deal with. I know what it is. Plenty of people have walked this pilgrimage, older than me, worse knees than me, and still been very successful. But training was no longer happening the way that everybody would expect. See, when we think with the logical mind, it's like, as my personal trainer says, we need to get your glutes strong. We need to get your lower back strong. We need to get your cardio strong. He'd done all this research for me. But the Camino was working for me, not against me. Imagine if I'd been walking the Camino and torn my meniscus then. My friend and I went to buy tickets. They were outrageously expensive. So our trip got pushed back, thank goodness, to cooler weather, cheaper flights, more time to prepare. Great. Did some more training, walking. And then, most recently, I ended up with a lung infection. I've had other things along the way, but everything has been working for me. Here's the thing. You'll hear me say all the time, I choose not to be a victim. This is happening for me, not against me, even if I can't see it at the time. But insights just kept coming. And I started to realize I had been this last year in full-blown initiation, a complete dismantling of me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, for me to rise like a phoenix renewed. The Camino was preparing me the way I needed and need to be prepared. Do you see how important being able to turn our vision inwards, to meditate, to ask for answers, to feel in the depths beyond logic, and how we need things to be? If I'd done that, I'd be a victim. But I kept calling to source, to soul, doing whatever I needed to do. I was journaling every morning. Well, still do journal every morning. I started pulling a card every single day that always answered what I'd already received in a meditation. So validation, validation, validation. Doing all my gratitudes, present and future. What I call future now moments. Then the lung infection. I've never had a lung infection in my life. By this stage, I had so much shifting because my knowing had said to me, don't just have the body work that you have every fortnight. Don't just see the energy worker that you go to once every 8 weeks. Go at one point and go back and start seeing your acupuncturist. So I had all these 3 modalities that were being grouped. Some of them, like massage and acupuncture, were in a day, and then maybe the next day was the energy work. No one was making me unwell. No one was doing any harm when I had then back pain, neck pain, and different things happening. I knew I'd already surrendered to the fact this is how the Camino was preparing me. So I have shifted deep-seated patterns. I've asked no one else to change. I have been changing. I have gone into the shadows of darkness of myself and brought her back into light with love, compassion, understanding, and ultimately forgiveness. I have gone back through anything that comes up that needs to be brought into forgiveness. I have remembered that if anything is to change externally, then I must be changing it internally. I have surrendered, completely let go of control, gone into flow over and around these obstacles, constantly asking those power questions. And I saw my acupuncturist yesterday, and he said, it is miraculous how fast you are healing through this lung infection. But then again, it doesn't surprise me, Kaye, because he recognises that I work on the mental, the emotional, the physical, the energetic, and the spiritual. And I knew beyond a shadow of doubt that when I leave in 1 week's time, my energy will be renewed. I am renewed. I have been prepared by the energy and the spirit of the Camino in the exact way that I have required, that I have invoked, and even beyond the invocation. And I was wondering this last week, why 25 then to 59? That's a long time. Why did the Camino and its calling lay dormant in forgetfulness for so long? Then why was it awakened when it was? And why 2024 through September and October? And as I'd come out of a session in a salt room, which is amazing, people, if you have a salt room wherever you are, it's incredibly healing for so many things, for lungs, for breathing, for snoring, for skin, for eczema, for energy. Incredible. And then I was laying on the table with the acupuncture needles in me in a beautiful darkened room, quiet. A question, because my acupuncturist is a seer as well, that was asked from my last session a week ago that I didn't have the full answer to. And I just lay there and I go into a meditative state as I call my body and my lungs and my ribs to heal after all the coughing. And I remembered many a lifetime ago having walked the Camino previously. And I got absolute clarification as to why I'm walking and the shamanic energy work that I'm to do while I walk the ley lines of the earth that are aligned with stars. And I had absolute clarification of my shamanic purpose spiritually and energetically, to activate for myself and for others. And then I became very clear on my intention for the Camino. And I came home and I felt so calm and so knowing. And I journaled. And then I pulled a card. And the card completely validated my knowing. So I know the soul will grow from any experience. But when we come from the heart space and knowing, and if you don't yet have knowing, have faith, then the soul's growth is exponentially aligned. It is expansive and magnificent. And it's allowing, and it's calm, and there's a sense of peace, deep peace. Because before I said anything, my acupuncturist said to me, "You've shifted. You are in a deep peace. I could spend the whole day here in your presence." Now it's taken from 25 to 59 to a week before the Camino for me to know how divine the timing is. Why I've gone through everything that I've gone through in this initiation process in the last year. Who I've had to step back into and who I've had to become, and at what resonance I need to be at, and what I've needed to put down in order to fulfill something I had decided many lifetimes ago that I would come back at this particular time in this particular year because of certain energies that I need to reactivate and work with along the way. So, listeners, everything makes sense in the end if we allow it. I have been so supported by the unseen world every step of the way. The lungs were unprocessed grief, and again, seeing deeper patterns that I've needed to release. Karmic things, lineage. So my question to you is, what is your deep calling? Has there been something in your past, like my moment of being in the tent and looking at the stars in the sky going, I one day will take some profound spiritual pilgrimage journey, and I name it to be the Camino. Is there something that you've been aspiring to that you're waiting for? But then you're kicking and screaming about the changes and the opportunities that life is bringing to you because it doesn't feel comfortable? Or are you prepared to turn your vision inwards, to do your prayer? And prayer is ask once, be grateful for receiving it. I have felt so spiritually held during this process, the most amazing people listening to my knowing and amping up the process to be ready in time, the investing in myself, body work, energy work, acupuncture, salt rooms, sitting back and resting. And the directive yesterday was, you've got just over a week, keep resting. Because I know that my body, my mind, my emotional state of being, and my energy and my soul will all be aligned and more than capable of taking an 800-kilometre walking journey with my soul sister at her side, where we leave behind the trials, the initiation processes, any heaviness, and we walk with light hearts, expanded souls, and loving hearts and open minds. I had a soulful calling of the Camino. I'm taking a spiritual pilgrimage. And I can't wait to share along the way and when I get back. And remember, the power of change is in your hands. The power of choice is in your hands. So much love. Join me on my next episode. And if you love this podcast, please subscribe by clicking on the plus button if you're on Apple, or like and follow on Spotify, rate and review, and please share Inner Voice of Knowing with your friends.